This is part 2 of rendering a CAD elevation in Adobe Photoshop. In this video, I will demonstrate rendering interior finishes for walls, a kitchen backsplash, and cabinets. Let's begin this part of the demonstration by rendering an interior wall finish. Start by comparing the drawing size with the image of the wall material. Next, toggle over to the open file that you intend to use for your wall finish. This could be a material that you downloaded from the material library earlier. I'm using the warm rough bricks. I'm checking the image size here. It's almost twice as big as it needs to be, so it's time to reduce the image size. As always, keep the aspect ratio locked to avoid distortion of the image. It's time to make a pattern from the new reduced image size. So go to the Edit pull-down menu and select Define Pattern. Give the pattern name a logical name. Since I've reduced it, I'm going to call this Warm Rough Brick Medium. Toggle back to the working file. Let's use the Magic Wand tool to select our wall area. Check Sample All Layers from the Options panel and make sure Wall Finish is the current layer. Magic Wand all parts of the wall, including the small area underneath the range. Hold the Shift key down to add to selection if necessary. Double check to make sure that you have all areas of the entire wall selected. And then make the Pattern Stamp tool the current tool. Find the pattern from the library that we just saved. Use the square brackets on your keyboard to enlarge or reduce the diameter of the Stamp Pattern tool. The scale of this wall material is still a little large, but it's closer to what we need it to be. Go to the Special Effects Pattern Overlay, reassign the pattern to the desired pattern, and then use the slider scale to adjust the size of the material, in this case, the warm bricks. Once you have it at the scale that you want, it's time to rasterize the layer effects. Deselect the wall pattern once you've done that. We'll be moving on to the backsplash layer next. Toggle to the tile sample that you've selected. We need to check the image size. Once again, go to the Image pull-down menu, Image Size. This sample size is also quite large and needs to be reduced. Once the file size has been reduced, we need to redefine the pattern. I'll save this as Spanish Cathedral Wall Small. Toggle back to the working PSD file. Make sure the backsplash layer is the current layer. And now, using the Marquee selection tool, I'm going to draw a rectangle around the area that I want to stamp on the pattern. This is a new selection tool. Go to the Pattern Stamp tool once you have the area selected and pick the new wall pattern. This pattern is still a little bit large, so we can fix the scale in the FX Layer Effects. Remember to reassign the tile pattern and fix the scale. Now, the beauty of doing it this way is that as long as you continue to add selected areas on the same layer, each time you use the stamp tool, it will brush on at this adjusted scale, and the pattern will match up perfectly. Let me illustrate what I'm talking about. Using the Marquee tool again, I will reselect the area behind the range and under the hood. On the same layer as before, I'll use the pattern stamp tool, using the same pattern. Notice how it comes in at the correct scale and also matches up seamlessly with the pattern adjacent to it. I'm going to keep repeating this process of using the marquee selection tool to make a rectangle, and then if you need to adjust the selection, go to Select pull-down menu and pick Transform Selection. This will give you a bounding box and you can actually adjust the selection box. It's easy to add pattern areas to small sections as well. Again, use the marquee tool and pick very small areas. Notice how the pattern stamp just aligns perfectly. In every area that I add adjacent pixels to the existing pattern, it lines up beautifully. Now make sure you have all the areas that you need to filled in before you do this next step, which is to rasterize the backsplash layer. So right mouse click on the backsplash layer when you're ready and choose Rasterize Layer Effects. We'll be rendering the base cabinets next, so make the base cabinets the current layer. Zoom in to one area of a base cabinet. I will be selecting my color palette for the base cabinets from the Sherwin-Williams Digital Paint Library. My cabinets will be shown in a creamy neutral hue. I will render one part of the cabinet at a time. The vertical part of a cabinet is called a stile, and the horizontal part of a cabinet is called a rail. Remember, we imported the Sherwin-Williams Digital Paint Library through the Swatches panel. I will reset my Swatches panel to black and white. Then I'll set my foreground color to simple stone and keep my background color as white. Using the gradient tool and holding the shift key down, I will make a straight gradient wash on each of the rails, which are the horizontal parts, and each of the stiles, which are the vertical parts. At this point, I am just using the magic wand to select each of the parts of the door, and my mode is normal and my opacity is 100%. But remember, I'm using the gradient tool. For the flat panels, I do something a little different. You will recall this strategy from the mid-century coloring book assignment when we rendered the interior of the cabinet. In this case, I've selected the recessed panel area. I have set the mode on the gradient tool to multiply and the opacity 30%. The next part is to render the inset bead around the recessed panel. I will select each of these little areas, and using the brush tool, I will set the blending mode to normal and opacity 100% and render the foreground color onto the bead. I'm showcasing this strategy to you, but you're more than welcome to try different techniques that you've learned so far in the course. Here, what I'm doing for the toe kick area is to select the area with the magic wand, use the gradient tool set to multiply and 30%. I will keep repeating this process of selecting one area at a time and changing the strategies from normal blending mode at 100% for some areas and multiply blending mode at 30% for some other areas. And the process just needs to really make sense for you based on what you want your area to look like. Just remember that you have lots of tools at your disposal and you've already learned all of these techniques. It's a matter of applying them, and whenever you don't like a certain look of a technique you've tried, Control or Command Z is the undo tool. You also can back up in the history tool if you prefer. But You'll need to keep going using a similar strategy for each cabinet and drawer face so that they all look consistently the same. So whatever strategy you decide to use, I recommend writing it down and then following that step by step on each cabinet and each door face. And don't forget the area around the door and around the drawers, which is the frame of the cabinet. That typically would be a little bit darker. So for me, I'm just going to select the frame area and I'm going to render it at a normal mode and 100% opacity of the foreground color. I can always go back and use the burn tool if I want to darken it just a little bit more. That's always up to you as the illustrator how you would like to portray that. It's time to finish up all the base and upper cabinets using a consistent strategy. The next video will focus on the appliances and the entourage and just generally finishing up the project rendering.